The first thing I'd like to do is introduce Bishop William McManus, who has honored us with his presence. Bishop McManus, if you would please give us a few words.
Thank you. Two things I'm not going to do. First, give a sermon. Second, delay the dancing. I'm sure it'll be grateful for both. I noticed that most of the people in this group here are relatively young, so I thought you might be interested in how Holy Cross High School got started. I was superintendent of schools back in the late 50s and early 60s. Around 1960, St. Patrick High School, Fenwick High School, Weber High School, just about every high school for boys was screaming for what they called relief. Phones rung off the hook the whole day long, saying we want to get our kids into a Catholic high school and they won't take us. There were all kinds of rackets going on to try to maneuver an applicant into one of these existing schools. And so I saw at the time then, with the burgeoning of increasing population out in the River Grove area, that there would be need for new schools, both a boys' school and a girls' school. I know that the Archdiocese wisely had purchased the property some time back. And so I said in what was the plan at the time to have twin schools. At that time we weren't quite ready for co-education, but twin schools was an approach to it, where boys and girls would be on the same campus. There could be some exchange of classes as would be feasible. And so the plans were all set then with the Archdiocese to start two new schools. All I needed was a group of sisters and a group of brothers to take them over. So I took myself down to South Bend and met the provincial of the Holy Cross Brothers and said, I've got a package for you. The Archdiocese of Chicago will give you the land, clear of any encumbrances, it'll be all yours. And if you build a school for 1,200 pupils capacity, the Archdiocese will give you $1,200,000, and the whole thing is yours. You can do what you want with the $1.2 million. You can build a school around that price, or you can take on a huge mortgage and double the amount and build a more extravagant school. And just at that time, there was a Christian brother named Brother Damien, who had discovered an architect in St. Paul who had a plan for the most economical kind of high school construction that you could ever put up. And if I recall the figures correctly, he said that you could build, get this figure, Holy Cross High School for about $12 a square foot. Of course, that included several things, like no central heating plant. His reasoning was just put a heater in each room. Those adolescents are so warm anyway, they'll heat the room. A lot of heating, and he was right on that. Economy was the word. It was probably the most economically built school we had, because the Holy Cross Brothers said, we'll take the property, we'll take the $1.2 million, but we're not going to go into a big debt. And we will send brothers to the school, because our dream is that if we have lots of brothers there, they will inspire the young men coming to that school, some of them, hopefully a large number of them, to become Holy Cross Brothers. So that was kind of the deal. The Archdiocese said, we'll put up the land, we'll give you the money to get rolling. You in turn will have the school, it's all yours, do with it as you will, and the more brothers come out of that school, the happier they will be. Sometimes I feel, having cooked up several of those deals all around the Archdiocese, I should travel with an armed guard. As things turned out in the mid-60s, vocations started to fade away. We had the upheaval of Vatican II, and the Holy Cross Brothers, like a lot of others that got into these deals, the Sisters of Providence, discovered that they had a great big school and a nice piece of property, and not a single solitary soul was thinking of becoming a brother or a nun. And the brothers they had were diminishing in number, the nuns were diminishing in number, and here they were at these schools that they could have found anyway, who said, we will return to you the property at $1.5 million and all that thing, and just go to work for you. And I would have to tell them, we have a contract. It's yours until the end of time. Well, if it hadn't been for a person like Brother Walter Davenport, the whole thing would have collapsed. He came into the school at the most difficult time of its history, and getting it underway, accommodating swarms of youngsters who came at the time, taking care of the finances in a very admirable way, and coping with a lot of imperfections that were in the school, economical as it was, building up a relationship with Mother Guerin next door, and charting a course. He was a great leader. His mark is on that school, and it will never be erased. It's Davenport School in many respects. He set up the pattern during his 9 years as the first principal, and that pattern has endured. He came back then to the relatively leisure position of president. I don't know really what they do. Came back as president to try to keep the board from running out of hand and other things like that. But when he was principal, it was all tough going. Tumultuous changes were taking place during those years, as you recall. The late 60s and the 70s was a period of all kinds of revolutions. The kids were all up in arms. They didn't want to believe anything about brothers or about religion or the church or anything else. They were wildly independent. Crowds were there, and lots and lots of problems. He coped with all of them. Some of you here in the audience will probably have problems, but he coped with them manfully and successfully. So I found out about this, and a couple of people exhumed me from my retirement and brought me here tonight at the age of 80, and I can't tell you how happy I am to be celebrating with you to honor a really top-flight educator, Brother Walter Davenport.
Thank you, Bishop. That's very enlightening. Happy to report, 33 years later, we've only lost 2 of those central heating systems. So I guess he was a wise man. Frank Cameron sitting over there, he used to have a lot of hair. Doesn't have that anymore thanks to the problems of the 60s. Our next guest speaker would be a state representative and a distinguished alumnus of the class of 1971. 76. Mr. Angelo Skip Salviano.
Well, it's a real honor for me to be here to show the brother how much we really appreciate what he's done for our great school. As the representative who represents the town that the school is in and the school, I want to say we'll keep trying to get that voucher bill through. I keep sponsoring it, it just doesn't go very far. But myself and Senator Cronin, who also represents the 77th district, we felt this was a very, very important night because, as we all know, Brother Davenport's legacy will always live on at Holy Cross High School, and we felt that we needed something permanent in the state of Illinois to make sure that it's on the books in our great state, commending Brother Davenport on his contribution to education in our area. So Representative Salviano and Senator Cronin introduced House Joint Resolution number 132 in the 88th General Assembly in the House of Representatives. Whereas those individuals who minister to the spiritual needs of others are worthy of the highest respect and admiration, and whereas it has come to the attention of the General Assembly that Brother Walter Davenport has announced his retirement as president of Holy Cross High School in River Grove, and whereas Walter Davenport was born in 1928 in Indianapolis, Indiana, where he attended St. Philip Neri Elementary School in Cathedral High School. And whereas he entered the formation program of Brothers of Holy Cross in Watertown, Wisconsin in 1946, and entered the novitiate at Rolling Prairie, Indiana, and whereas he took his temporary vows in 1948 and in 1951, he pronounced his final vows to become a Brother of Holy Cross. And whereas Brother Walter earned his bachelor's degree from the University of Notre Dame in January of 1951 and worked as a novitiate until the fall of that year when he began his teaching career at the Vincentian Institute in Albany, New York. And whereas during the next 10 years he was assigned to the St. Edward High School in Lakewood, Ohio, Cathedral Central High School in Monroe, Michigan, St. Joseph High School in South Bend, Indiana, and a boys' home in Terre Haute, Indiana. And whereas in 1961 he was appointed the first principal of Holy Cross High School in River Grove, and with the help of a young, energetic faculty, brought this new school to become a pillar of strength in the community. And whereas Brother Walter left Holy Cross to serve as administrator and instructor at Father Gilbralt School in Terre Haute during the 1966-67 school year, and returned to the Holy Cross High School from 1967 until 1971. And whereas he was again assigned to the Catholic Central High School in Monroe, Michigan from 1971 until 1978. And after a year of study at the University of Notre Dame, he returned to the Catholic Central High School as a theology teacher. And whereas in 1982, duty called Brother Walter to Eastern Kentucky, where he worked for 3 years at Holy Family High School, the last Catholic high school in the Ashland area. And whereas in 1985 he was named principal of Muskegon Catholic Central High School in Michigan, and in 1986 he was appointed to serve as assistant superintendent of high schools in Cleveland, Ohio. And whereas in 1988 Brother Walter Davenport was again called to serve as president of Holy Cross High School in River Grove. And whereas Brother Walter will serve as registrar and assistant to the headmaster at Holy Cross School in New Orleans, Louisiana. And whereas Brother Walter Davenport has served his profession long and well, and his distinguished service and wise counsel have had a profound influence on all who have had the privilege of knowing him. And whereas Brother Walter's life and service are a shining example of the love of God to all the people of this state. Therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 88th General Assembly of the State of Illinois, the Senate concurring herein, that we join with the citizens of River Grove in wishing Brother Walter good luck as he leaves Holy Cross High School, that we commend him for his long and faithful dedication to God's work, that we express great pleasure in the expectation that he will be able to continue his loving service for many years to come, and be it further resolved that a suitable copy of this resolution be presented to him as an expression of our respect and esteem. Adopted by the House of Representatives on April 6, 1994, Michael J. Madigan, Speaker of the House, James Pate Phillip, President of the Senate.
And now another distinguished graduate from the class of '72, Roy McCampbell from Leiden Township as a trustee.
Thank you very much. I have a resolution which is not quite as long as Skip, because at the township level we don't get as verbose. I'm somewhat disappointed being that Skip is an alumni also of the township board, having been supervisor. I think that something that I would share with all of you is the importance of people. Bishop McManus talks about the building and the construction, but I think if anything that we could talk about is the people that were the teachers at Holy Cross, the brothers, the lay people, many of whom came back to the school, and I believe very strongly were guided by Brother Walter. His guidance was tremendous. I had the opportunity to be there as a student from 1968 through 1971, as a student under the tenure of at least 3 years of Brother Walter's, I guess we'll call it reign as principal. Some people would call it that. I would like to at least just share a real brief story about one specific alumni, and that alumni is not me. I will never forget the day that I first remember seeing Brother Walter as a principal. I was in room 108. And we were all sitting in that room, and it sat about 60 or 70 of us nice freshman boys who were a little bit bright and figured we were all smarter than everyone else. We hadn't had a chance to meet the dean yet. And we were making a large amount of noise. And Brother Walter came roaming into the room, waving those little ropes he had around his waist, and advised us of the importance of quietness. And as he walked out, one of the members of the room was not impressed. He stood up and flapped his arms around and sat down. And I don't know how he did it, but Brother Walter, he had eyes either behind his head or around the corner. He walked in and he invited that individual out of the room, and we didn't see him the rest of the day. And that individual went on for the next 4 years through some very memorable experiences that entertained many of us in the class. And I didn't see him after graduation, and I think probably a few of us would have voted him most likely to be in some interesting climes and not necessarily in the academic world. And I went on and I got into law school one day, and I walked in the cafeteria of the law school, which we shared with a couple of other schools at DePaul, and lo and behold, I meet him. And I figured he might be stalking the machines there to see if he could burglarize them. He was actually working on plotting his next classes he was going to take, and he shared with me the fact that he had worked very hard after he left Holy Cross, driving a truck and loading trucks and a variety of other items, but his really belief and the real tenor that went in his mind was many of the things he had learned at Holy Cross, and they carried him through. And he came back, and while he was working, he went on and got his bachelor's degree, and actually when I got my master's in business at DePaul, he got his bachelor's and graduated with honors. And today he went on and he got his master's from the University of Chicago, and he's very successful. In fact, he's living in River Forest, and I'm living in Sherwood Parks. But he attributes it all to Holy Cross, and he attributes it to his first experience that freshman year with Brother Walter. So I think he's somewhat embarrassed, and I had a conversation with him not that long before coming here this evening, and I don't know if he wanted to even show at this point. He's not here this evening, but I think that goes to show you how the sensitivity that has been brought about by the faculty and through the guidance of Brother Walter meant so much to the students at Holy Cross, and it's something that we all appreciate. And as I've gone through life and met many, many alumni, both from my year and before and after me, it's had a major impact, I believe, on everything that has been done in our lives here in the township or the villages or whatever. So if you can all give me a moment here, and I'd like to read to you the resolution that we have adopted at the Township Board. Whereas the town of Leyden recognizes the importance of civic contributions of many of its citizenry to the quality of life in Leyden Township, and whereas the town of Leyden wishes to take specific recognition of a person very worthy of praise, and whereas such a citizen worthy of praise is known as Brother Walter Davenport, who began his association with the town of Leyden when he was assigned as principal of Holy Cross High School in 1961 as it opened its doors in River Grove. And whereas, while the social climate was changing in the mid to late 1960s, Brother Walter Davenport, leading a dedicated staff, maintained Holy Cross High School as a pillar of strength and calm for the high school youth of the town of Leyden and the greater Chicagoland area. And whereas Brother Walter Davenport continued to cross paths with the youth of the town of Leyden, serving as the chief administrator of Holy Cross High School from 1961 through 1966, 1967 through 1971, and 1988 through 1994. And whereas Brother Walter Davenport's tenure supervised the education of many responsible residents of the town of Leyden, including many civic leaders, as well as the leaders of business and industry in the town of Leyden. And whereas Brother Walter Davenport's dedication to the Crusader spirit will perpetuate a legacy at Holy Cross High School to develop the leaders of tomorrow. And whereas Brother Walter Davenport most recently leaves his mark on Holy Cross High School through the creation of a development program and the establishment of the Board of Trustees, firmly charting the course of Holy Cross High School in the 21st century, now therefore be it resolved by the Supervisor and the Board of Trustees of the Town of Leyden, Cook County, Illinois, on behalf of all the citizens of Leyden Township, that Brother Walter Davenport be commended and congratulated for his dedication and vision and years of service to the community, and further note that he is a person who likes people and is very worthy of recognition and praise. Passed this 10th day of May, 1994, Bradley Stevens, Supervisor, Al Biancalana, trustee, Joe Thomas, trustee, Marilyn May, trustee, Gwen Campbell, trustee, Donna Geneva Rory, town clerk. We all wish to express our thanks for the years, the 15 years I've been advised by Brother Walter that he's put in, and the fact that we hope he reappears again in Leiden Township as he's done 3 times for us. Thank you very much.
And our next individual is the Mayor of River Grove, Mr. Tom Tarpey.
You want another drink? As you probably heard, I wasn't an alumni of Holy Cross High School. Actually, it was kind of nice up here tonight. I ate and I went to confession to Bishop McManus at the same time. And when I was through, he said, "Thank God you're not an alumni of Holy Cross." Actually, I graduated from Fenwick High School in the middle 50s, and in 59 and 60, Holy Cross was being built in 61, I believe, and I was kind of eager to get there because being a Fenwick graduate and an all-boys school coming to River Grove, I was looking forward to see what it would be like. You know, before I go on, before that story, I think Brother Raymond Smith, would you please stand up? Brother Roy Smith, I'm sorry, Roy Smith. I think it takes a lot of courage for a black man to come to an all-white neighborhood like that. I meant to tell you that, brother. And by the way, the waitress told me today, in 1868, Andrew Jackson fell 1 vote short of impeachment. That has nothing to do with what we're doing, but the waiter thought it was a very nice thing to say. Anyway, I walked into this brother's room there, you know, and there's a kid there that got kicked out of class for talking, I believe it was talking, and you know, instead of giving him the 800-word thing why you shouldn't talk in class, the right hand crossed the lad's cheek. And the kid, he says, "Go to your room, I don't want to see you again." So from that time on, he was known as a great disciplinarian over at Cross. As a matter of fact, when he left in 1971, he went to set up the graffiti laws in Singapore, and they have been greatly successful. The greatest... George Panton once says, "Always do more than is what is expected of you." And that's what Brother Davenport has done. It was very hard to say enough kind words about Brother Davenport, and you're probably tired of hearing about the word "whereas." But in this case, we have to do it. That's what they pay me to do. And, matter of fact, I got to go somewhere else after this. I think Skip does too, and say "whereas" again. But this one is really true. And our resolution is 94R909. Whereas Brother Walter Davenport is retiring as principal of Holy Cross High School, having served in the capacity during the period of 61 to 71 and 88 to 94, having been instrumental in the building of the school and having devoted most of his life serving education and his community. And whereas it is the years of adolescence which are filled with joyous experience, contain some of the most carefree moments of life during which the mold is cast, and those that are there to shape it have profound and lasting effect on the adult that evolves around the adolescent. And whereas Brother Walter was one of those who was there and who cared about our young people through the time and our future, those who have journeyed through this educational process of which he is part have and will continue to benefit from the unselfish dedication. Now therefore be it resolved by the President, I'm the President, and Board of Trustees of the Village of River Grove, Colony of Cook, Illinois, open meeting to assemble our heartfelt thanks, sincere best wishes are expressed to Brother Walter, together with our hope for a happy, healthy, and productive retirement. Further be it resolved that from Monday morning forward, it's 8 p.m. when our Public Works gets there, the street directly in front of Holy Cross High School will now be called Davenport Drive, and here is the first sign.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you all the guest speakers. The last individual I want to introduce, for anyone of us who has gone to Holy Cross, let me first recall to mind the individual. What doesn't move, what stands straight as an arrow. It stands like this at the end of the hallway. It just waits for you to do something wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me Brother Walter Davenport.
I heard there was a disturbance in Elmwood Park last night. Mr. Joseph Serpico, go to your locker, clean it out, and report to the office when the meeting begins. A number of Holy Cross students heard that at one time or another in my tenure. Bishop McManus, Brother Roy, Brother Thomas Cartman, and I are all graduates of the same high school in Indianapolis, and we had to be tough to survive as Catholics in the city of Indianapolis, and that's why Roy's got guts. Right now, Indianapolis used to be the what would you say, the Ku Klux Klan's favorite city. So for Irish or any other kind of Catholic to survive in Indianapolis, you had to be tough. I owe an awful lot to Bishop McManus, and I was really flattered to see him here this evening. Bishop McManus, as he said, was a superintendent when we opened the school, but he was a gracious gentleman who achieved tremendous things in a very difficult era. And he had a very interesting format for doing that. We had a lot of principals meetings in those days, you remember, Bishop? And they were always up on about the 14th or 15th floor of a very nice hotel on Michigan Avenue. And the agenda always went, drinks at 11, dinner at 12, and then we got around to discussing issues. And believe it or not, he could get the Jesuits to talk to the Dominicans and the Carmelites to the rest of us, and he got things done. But he was always very kind to us, and I think that, you know, the leadership he provided at that time was remarkable. The school, by the way, Bishop, is paid for. I wish that, you know, we perhaps had a debt again, because when you have a debt, it seems like everybody works harder. But I wouldn't want to put anybody back in that position. We had to work very hard. We met 20 years of annual payments on our mortgage of $70,000 a year. So you figure that out. We paid $100,400,000, and the diocese gave us $1,200,000, and we built that entire building and furnished it for $2,600,000. Today it probably costs us about $8 or $9 million to do it. There are several people that I feel I need to recognize this evening as we're dealing with first. We were, I believe, the first account that a young salesman from the Herff Jones Company received, and he's been a very dear friend of mine and of the school all these years, right, Bertie?
Very good.
I'd also like to recognize Brother Terrence McLaughlin, who was one of the old-timers that survived with me from the days back in the 60s, and he represented that other school down Belmont. But what many people don't realize is that I and Holy Cross, through me, have a real indebtedness to the Christian Brothers for the counsel and the support that they gave us in our early years. And his predecessor, Brother Adrian, wasn't that the correct name? Who I believe is still alive, just gave up being the president of their school in Memphis a few years ago, was a particularly dear friend of mine, as was Brother Terrence too. And Brother Terrence has been serving on our board of trustees. Another person that I have to acknowledge is my dentist, who I want to assure that even though he's an alumni, I'm going to go home and brush my teeth. I would like to thank everyone who worked to organize this event this evening. It's very nice to be able to come to the front door, walk in, sit down, and not have to do anything. And you did a very fine job. I've been lauded here several times this evening, and I think it's very important for me to recognize publicly that whatever success I have achieved in my years as administrator at Holy Cross High School is due to the tremendous support I had from the faculty, and that includes not only the religious but also the lay faculty, both men and women. And we have with us this evening one of our original lay faculty, which I think is probably a first for many schools to have been in operation this year, many years, and still have one of their first lay teachers on the faculty, still beating the troops every day, Mr. Frank Cameron. You do realize, though, that there comes a time to hang it up. And I've really come to realize that. I do some subbing, and especially for homerooms. And the other day, I had a freshman homeroom, and even though the kids think I can't hear anything because of my 2 tin ears, I really can hear a lot more than they realize. And one of them said to another, he said, "My God, I think that's Methuselah's brother." I always enjoyed teaching, and this year we had a religion class left over that nobody else was available to teach, so I got it. And the other day, it's a church history course, by the way, the other day I was waxing eloquently about Otto von Bismarck and the Kulturkampf. I heard some little kid say to another one, he said, "You think they went to school together?" Now, when you start picking up stories like that, I think it's time to quit. If there's anything that I feel that I need to point out as points of achievement in my time back as president, I think the first is the fact that our Board of Trustees has come together and is making really giant strides forward. And there are several of our trustees who are here this evening, and it would take me too long to recognize all of them. But I do wish to thank you as a group, and particularly Joe Serpico and Rick Zvier for persevering with me from the very beginning. And we assure you that Holy Cross will be there for a long time because of this Board of Trustees. The presence of the brothers keeps diminishing each year, but the brothers, in their foresight, and with the wisdom of such guides as Brother Richard Gilman, have put together this Board of Trustees to provide the continuity and the future for that school. And I wish to thank you publicly, Joe and Rick Zvier, for persevering with me. It hasn't been easy, I know. But we've come a long way, and it's very important, I think, for me to point that out. The other thing that I would like to point out publicly is the support of our alumni. When I came back in 1988 as president, one of the things that I set about to do was to establish a permanent alumni office, and I actually gave the board that as a condition for coming back, and Rick and Joe can verify that. There were two things I told them they had to do if they wanted me to come back. One, they had to allow me to have a full-time alumni director, and the other thing was to move the computer room up out of that horrible hole in the basement and put it in a room that had been used for a study hall. And they did both of them. But the real key to the success of that alumni venture was not me, but it was Ed Yakubchik. And I think Ed has done tremendous things in the 6 years that he's been the alumni director, and I hope that he will continue to have the support of the alumni as he has had. Some of you may not realize it, but we're probably one of the few schools, high schools, Catholic high schools, that has an endowment generated by the alumni for financial aid. And we are very grateful to all of the alumni. We're very grateful particularly to the board of directors of that endowment. And I know that Larry Wagner is one of those directors, and there may be others here this evening that I've not seen, but we do thank you. Oh, Jack Ross. We do thank you for your support, and hopefully in the not too distant future, that fund will be a very important factor for continuing the strong, healthy student body that Holy Cross needs. I would be very remiss in not acknowledging the support of my fellow Holy Cross brothers that I've had over the years. We don't always see eye to eye, believe it or not. Our house is not always one of perfect harmony. We do have our disagreements, but I can tell you this, that they have, in all of the years that I've been in the community, 46 of them, have been very strong in supporting me, and I hope to whatever degree I have been able to do it, I have returned that support. It's kind of like your wife. You know, I think a married man is to a great extent what his wife is. And I think in my case, I'm a great believer in the fact that whatever I have been able to achieve to a great extent has been the result of the support of the brothers that I have lived with. And I want